Start recording. Do you see somewhere? Yep, I see start recording. Okay. So again, sorry for the messy. We are under construction. So I always make sure, because generally when you are dealing with a bird that where you're going to have to use the needles, you're going to be dealing with probably wounds. So I'd have something to sterilize, carry like an alcohol wipe or something to make sure your needles are very sterilized.
Yep.
And I generally, because they're so cheap, like I got all these needles for like $1 that or $4 or something.
Just regular sewing needles?
Yes, they're regular sewing needles. And you're a man, so you'll probably feel comfortable with one more bigger to hold on to. But I'm just saying that because you're bigger hands.
Yep.
So I'm just taking the 2 sewing needles out, and normally I would sterilize them even though they're in this pack. No one's ever touched them before. And then, so what happens sometimes, I just put the twine on the little dovey's foot. The twine gets wrapped around and round and then knotted, and then it grows into the flesh. So when you're pulling out the thread, you're actually, it's like if you had do you ever have an elastic around your hand that was tight and you pulled it out and you could see the indentation?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, except sometimes you'll even see some blood. So you have to be very careful that it isn't one that healed inside the flesh, because you don't want to tear open a open flesh wound.
Okay.
So like if you find like a string bird and you're getting into there and then you see the flesh has grown over the string, 9 times out of 10 that's not something you want to take on. You want to bring it to a rehabber because that foot's in danger. But you might see it like a super tight one. But I find scissors, even though I have special scissors, that it's easier to use the needles, because then I'm not cutting anything. I can't hurt the birdie with the scissors.
Yep.
Right? But I'm shredding the needle. With the needles, I'm shredding the thread.
Yep.
And so this is my technique I use at home, because my own birdies, even though I try to be the best bird mom I can, everyone has problems. I'm sure even Amy, now and then, you're like, how did that happen? And mine got into some dental floss in a bird room. And so now I don't have dental floss in the house at all.
Yep.
I just have the picks, the dental floss picks, and an electric flosser, because they got into some dental floss and they hurt their feet. So it's just like, that's another thing I can't have, but it's a hazard. So when you have the little foot, you can see the foot's all twined up there. I have like a knot here. And so I just hold I hold the thread apart. And then as I get into this is probably, I hope you can see, I start taking the thread apart. Instead of cutting the thread, I just pick the thread apart. Can you see what I'm doing? Like, I wish you could. But I'm taking.
So you're actually breaking the string apart with the needle.
Yeah, I'm taking it. I'm fraying it. I'm fraying that piece of thread. So I'm not pulling and tugging on anything. And I'm turning the thread into like many little fibers. Because even though this is sewing thread, and even though if it was dental floss, I can see that right now it's turning into like many, many pieces of thread.
So you're shredding it.
I'm shredding it. And then as I keep on cutting it, I'm not using any scissors, because now I can't, like, you're very careful and so is Amy, but some people, they would push the stuff in their manicure scissors and they could cut the foot, right?
Yeah, right.
So you could lift up. So this would be a really exciting moment if I could get that up there. That'd be really good. And then I wouldn't want to pull too hard and hurt the footy more. So then I would take the scissors, and I do have my manicure scissors here. And then now I know this is not anywhere near the foot that's going to hurt the foot, I always keep like my finger in between. So I'm cutting against my finger, not the bird's flesh.
Right.
So now it's just idiot proofing. I mean, there's always going to be pros around, Heather and Elizabeth, that that have the confidence, but I like the idiot proof stuff.
Yeah, right.
I'm just really extra safe. And I put my needle down there. Where'd you go? There we go. So now that thread is gone, and then you can, maybe you can't see, but the thread that I cut, I turned into many threads. I just kept on.
You just shred it with
I shredded
you're
it.
cutting it. You're cutting it, but not with the scissors. You're cutting it with the needle.
Right. I'm using one needle to hold the thread steady.
You're breaking it with the needle, with the tip of the needle.
But I'm using one like a drumstick, as Diego does my hair for me. I'm using one needle to secure the needle because I'm not pulling it. Because if you're pulling it deeper in the flesh somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I lift up that little edge, and now, oh, good, I finally got some. And then I can just kind of dust to see how much I got off there.
So you're lifting it with one needle.
Yeah, so one needle holds the thread steady, so then I can get in and I fray it. Fray it, and then if you were into in the 1980s, girls used to tease boys who tease their hair, kind of go backwards, so to make your hair fluffy. Well, I use the needle, one to keep the needles, just hold this thread in place. The other, I'm teasing it to turn it into fuzz. And then I can ease it out of the wound very gently without pulling it. Because if I pull it, I might open a gash.
So you use one to kind of get it. You use one to kind of get it in position, and then
you're using secure it.
One to secure it. So you're sticking it under the string,
so that I'm over, just like if I'm playing a cello or something. I have one needle like over the thread.
Yep.
And then the other one, it holds it in place, and then I just keep on doing this twice to turn it into shreds, and it will turn into just floss, like fuzzies.
Right.
Like, like a pill on a sweater.
Why couldn't you, just a question, why couldn't you just do that with one needle?
Because if you're just doing that with one needle, you're scratching around and the thread is moving.
Oh, I understand. I see.
So the one
that you're using to secure it, you're not using the point to secure it.
No, I'm not using the point. I'm just using that as something to hold in place a sterile instrument, and then I could ease it out. And I have done it where it's been in a scab, and it's a very hard decision because you don't want to be pulling out scabs. But sometimes it's just it's an open oozy wound that I want to clean.
Right.
So I can keep on taking the frays out.
Or sometimes it's just dead flesh that's just going to come off and reveal healthy skin underneath. I've seen that happen.
But like if I cut my hand 2 years ago and I don't know what would happen exactly, but if I left a piece of thread and it grew over, you wouldn't want to pull that out.
Right.
It's just like
So basically, if the flesh is healed over the string, that needs to go to an expert.
Yes, I would do that. Now, it's not unpleasant, and I don't mean to be implying, but it's, for example, if you have a dog or a cat, and I'm losing my hair a bit with my medication I'm on and stuff, and you see a big piece of Laura hair coming out of their bum where they poop, you don't grab that dog or cat by the bum and pull out that hair.
Right. Okay.
If you do, that could pull something inside.
Okay. So
that hair could be wrapped around an organ. So the same thing with this is, you see this, you don't just yank it out, because it could open a triad of a riverbed of injuries.
Yeah, right.
But if you keep on taking the thread, now what happens here for me sometimes with mine is I would do that little piece and I get that piece out, and then I go over here and do it again, and then the thread, I can pull it out. Just sort of like someone who had a pierced earring or something. I could just literally slide it out.
Right. Okay. Yep.
But it makes a difference, because now you're not, I made it so tight. This is just a plush dog. but I made it so tight. You can't just put scissors in next there sometimes. You don't know, what they might have if it's too tight. And if
Yeah.
you hold it steady with one, turn it into a fray, then you see exactly what you want. And then sometimes you can unravel it just like you would off
Right. Right.
on a
Okay.
spool.
Yep.
Without using any cutting, without risking someone little toesies getting hurt.
Right. Right.
So like I got that piece out there, so now I can unwind it for a little bit, but then I know it's safe because it's loose.
So you're going in there, you're securing with one needle, you're kind of scraping with the tip of with the point of the other needle, and then as they start to break, you can start to just kind of gently see, like, can you pull it out, can you untwine it, and then eventually you get the whole thing. But you don't want to yank, you don't want to.
No,
Okay.
this stops all yanking. So it's not even going to be painful for the birdie per se, because when you're cutting and pulling, you don't know if there's like starting to heal or that crusty infection type of thing coming up. But I mean, I've removed stuff before where I had like pus and infection, and I needed to clean it and get the antibiotics in there right away, or they might lose their footy.
Yeah,
but so
right.
say in a situation like this, I might have gone here and decided, you know what, that looks really infected. I'm not going to go there anymore, but I'm going to go over here and see what I can do. And then I'll do that one. And then sometimes, just sometimes, you can when you lift up the fray, that other one comes right out. It comes out of the other side. So
Yeah,
you
right.
gotta
I've seen that because one bird that I had was a mess. And basically, what I did was I went in with my scissors and I said, okay, well, I see this right here and I know I can cut this without harming the bird. Let's see what happens. And I cut it, and then I just gently would tug on it. It's like, oh, that just came off. Okay, well, here's another place where I can cut without hurting the bird. And then all this other stuff came off. Next thing you know, I had everything off just by doing like one step at a. So it sounds similar to what you do.
It is, except I don't cut the thread. I
Right, you're
shred
not
the
cutting.
thread.
Yeah, you're
Because
just using
I'm talking about
you're using a different method of breaking the thread.
like right now I am gonna hurt myself a little bit, but can you see the circulation cut off on my finger?
Yep.
Well, that's the kind I'm doing with here. So no matter what scissors you have, it's very, very hard to get under there.
Yeah, right, especially when it's really deep.
And so then when you take this and you just work at it, and then you turn the thread into fray, then it's easier. And then I'm even starting to see the color return on my hand just that little bit more. But I don't have a free finger, but I'm holding it tight. And so I'm just fraying it, so there's no room for scissors in this.
Yeah, right.
And because if I push the scissors in, I might push into a wound.
Yeah.
Like a bloody wound, because sometimes you'll see an open wound with stuff in it. And I will admit to say, because I believe in honesty, as a pet owner, I've seen it all. Even in my own bird, my own flock, I had a bird with dental floss. Somehow got the dental floss. It crusted into his foot, and he hid it from me. And then one day he came out and just looked at me and showed me his feet. I'm like, oh my gosh. And it could happen to anyone. Like if they have a cut and that dental floss starts to heal in there. So then you want to clean the wound, keep on cleaning that wound but you can't take scissors and pry it out like you would a pry bar because it's flesh.
Yeah,
and so you turn it to fray instead of using your scissors. And it's a gentle approach.
Yep. Okay. I think I understand. And I think probably Amy already knows how to towel a bird. So if she doesn't, we could maybe do like another video on that.
We can do it. I can towel macaws. That's the real talent. When you at macaw, it's like when I towel them, and when you professionally towel birds, you keep them between your knees. Yep. So I would towel my macaws, and I would wrap them in a towel, and I'd have Lucky, and I'd secure them. I hold them, penguins as well. I hold them with my knees.
Yep.
And so then I have their both hands free and I can do what I have to do.
Ah, I see. So you towel them and then put them in between your
Yeah,
thighs.
just between my knees, and I hold them firm, and then they can't go anywhere. But at that
Right.
point, because I'm compassionate, I listen to what the bird wants. If the bird wants to see, I let the bird see. If the bird doesn't want to see, I just cover their little eyes. And then I
Okay.
always sing to them and communicate soft, gentle, friendly
Do
sounds.
you when you towel them and put them between your knees, do you hold them upside down? Because I know that can.
Yeah, and ideally, I want to hold them down.
Upside down.
No, well, upside down can kill them if they have a high blood pressure rate.
Yep.
But in an emergency, sometimes you do have to. I mean, you do often see birds on their back when they're toweled.
Yep.
But like if you have a bird, I don't want to admit this, but I have to because I'm being honest. There's been times in my life as a younger person when I had a bird, say, entangled in a towel that was outside their cage, and I cut them down from the towel, and then the next thing I wanted to take, I thought if I just got the string off and everything right away, that the bird can go back to his day and forget about it. But in hindsight, I think I might have killed a few of my birds from not letting them rest. Because
Right. Okay.
one thing that I learned from the rescue centers in Africa and stuff is that when the oil spill penguins come in, we give them 3 days, just don't even touch them.
Yep. Yep. Okay.
And if you just take your time, so if you see a bird panting in any kind of distress, definitely don't have them on their back and just soothe them and talk to them and talk to them. But I sing to them and make them know that my chirping's friendly.
Right. Right. Okay.
Because if you're
Okay.
just quiet and stoic, they don't know what's going on. Like, are you eating them?
Right. Right. Got it. Got it. Yeah, I
I don't
talked to
know if
them.
that's helpful or not. I mean, we've used that for parrots. We've used that for doves, canaries. Finches are really bad because their little toes are so skinny. They're practically 3 sewing needles, like a finch.
Yeah. Right.
And they get
Right.
something knotted around their finger. And I don't know if you ever had a gold chain that got a knot in it.
Yep.
Amy probably has. And you use, that's the technique. You use 2 needles, and that's how you save your gold chain.
Yep. Yep. Okay.
I hope that was
Okay.
insightful. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It
Sorry.
is. And I'll pass it on to So maybe we can stop recording now so the video doesn't get too long.
Okay, sure. Stop recording.